Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Strangers Worth Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Hicks, and I'm here today with Cune Pena.
Yes.
We're in Tyler, Texas, once again. Excellent town. Been here for just about 2 weeks now, and I'm about to leave, which I want to miss out on this place.
You're missing the cold weather. You got the good stuff.
Yeah, we've been here kind of early November, just enjoying really relaxed stuff, hanging out at the state park all the time. Well, we've got Cune on the podcast today to talk about his life and experiences. I don't know how to define you, whether that's in the camp of entrepreneur, dad, bodybuilder, gym owner. I mean, how do you define yourself?
I define myself as always an entrepreneur because all of it comes together. You know, being a dad and entrepreneur to me is pretty much the same thing because you're building something. You know, with my kids, I'm building them into who God's called them to be, and so I think entrepreneur, there's no separation in that.
Right. So you're just you. You're just
I'm
Cune.
just me, man.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
And I never really considered myself an entrepreneur. I was just a guy that went after what I saw that I needed to do.
Yep. And well, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know, just in my life, it's just always been kind of natural to get to that point.
Yeah. You're probably like me. I don't like labels of any kind. So I don't want people to label this or that, label me that. So yeah, I mean, I guess I am an entrepreneur because I like to start businesses and see them grow and watch them become what they're supposed to be.
What's the label thing? Where does that come from?
I don't know. I think not liking labels is because I just want to be me. You know, somebody labels you as something and then they expect that from what the world's perspective is of that term that they labeled you.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just be me.
Yeah, you're well, I think that's kind of natural for an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to fit in a box. I would love to break rules. Let's try something new. I wanted to find my own version of things.
Yeah.
That's totally natural. So, I'm excited to get together with you. I found you on Instagram from all the stuff you guys are posting because you've got a new gym that you're getting close. It's about to be open.
Yeah, we're about 4 weeks out.
Wow, look at that.
4 weeks out.
Yeah, and so I want to know about the vision behind this place.
So let me go back to when I was 13 years old. That's crazy.
All right.
I've always been fascinated by physiques. I don't know why. Just, you know, back then it was Lou Ferrigno and the Incredible Hulk.
Sure.
And you're probably way too young to remember that.
I know who Lou Ferrigno is for sure.
But anyway, I was really fascinated by that and how can someone be like that?
Yeah.
And at 13, I started working out. It was one of those things that I was drawn to. And we had an art project at school, and the teacher said, if you were going to own a business, what would your business be and what would the logo be? And thinking back, what I drew was Cune's Gym, and I drew this little muscle guy, and that was my logo. Not knowing 15 years later, at 28, I would open my first gym. And that was like a total fluke because my wife and I didn't have the finances to do it. I'd been a trainer at that point for 9 years. Was very fortunate to meet a family that was extremely wealthy that I took care of in fitness, and not really even knowing the kind of wealth that they had and that they would do what they said they would do. You know, it was always that conversation. The mother of the family would say, you know, if you ever decide to do something, let us know. We'll help you out. And people say that all the time, and most of the time they don't follow through.
Yeah.
Well, this family followed through. When it was time for me to do something, they literally wrote a check and said, here, just pay us back.
Wow. And
the only reason that family charged me interest was because their trust. It was kind of a law thing. They had to charge so much interest on the money they loaned out of their trust. But we got started in 1999 with my first gym. My wife and I and a partner ran that to 2001. We bought him out 2001. That was called Premier Fitness here in Tyler, Texas. It was the place to be back then. We were probably the first fitness-only gym without racquetball and all that kind of stuff back then. Had that for 16 years on our own. My kids started growing. We were kind of trying to change our focus from business because it became who we were.
Yep.
You know, and we realized we can't do this and raise our children the way we want to. And a hard decision to give my dream up, and we sold our first gym, although I had a CrossFit gym at the same time. So we kept the CrossFit gym, sold the global gym is what they call them, and swore I'd never do it again.
Here you are.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, 7 years ago.
Time heals all wounds,
yes,
they say.
My wife and I, we'd never do this again.
Right.
And so here we are 7 years later, I guess it is. And we're about to start a new one, and I'll be turning 50 this year, 2020. And so was that 22 years later from my first endeavor with a gym. Here we are again and starting over. And you asked me why and what's
well, I kind of want to know, like, is it the pinnacle? Is this the opus? This gym is the one where you're going to get it right and it's got the things you've been learning?
I hope we're going to get it right. I think we're going to get it right.
Yeah.
My wife and I have learned a lot about each other over the last 21 years. We're great partners. That's one thing we've learned, not only in life, but in business. I'm kind of the visionary guy, the shoot from the hip, and she's like the black and white, no, we got to do this. So I could tell her the vision and she'll map it out how we're going to get there. And I know we're going to get there, I just don't know how. She usually knows how. So it's kind of cool to have a spouse that believes in you and believes in the vision you share with them enough to go for it.
Well, you and I have that in common. My wife, Andrea, is everything, and she and I started our company, Marketing Tea, together, and she's been there making it happen. So the way we work, at least now, is she really runs our team, who's just cranking out all this creative content like crazy. Yeah. And I deal more on the client side and kind of looking for the vision and the marketing of what we're going to do with ourselves. And I think I get it. I mean, that paradigm between the two of you, that teamwork, there's nothing like it when it's working. Right. So, it's something that I think people try to do it and it doesn't always work for them either. Right. It takes something. I think it's unique. I think it's rare.
I think it's special when a husband and wife could work together for a long period of time. And it took us a while to get to know each other in that way, because I'm a very demanding person. And when I say I want something done, usually I want it done now. Mm-hmm. And she's learned now to say she'll do that. And she'll take her time and it'll get done. But she knows how to, appease me in the moment.
Sure.
And she knows that I'll understand as long as it takes her to get it done. She gets it done. I'm good with that. But,
yeah. And so your family crafts a whole lot of who you've become through your businesses and endeavors. So you've got 3 kids, right?
3 kids,
if I'm not mistaken.
19, about to be 20, 17. So 2 boys, 19, 17, and then my baby girl, she's 13. And they're all just super creative, and they're themselves. We've not tried to force them into a box. And it's kind of funny because out of the 3, there's only 2 that are athlete, and 1 that's an athlete, and it's my middle son. Mm-hmm. And my wife and I were both jocks growing up.
Yeah.
Like hardcore,
yeah,
every sport kind of thing. And, most parents that grew up that way would want to push that child into that direction. And I'll tell you a funny story about my 19-year-old. When he was 13, he fell in love with music, like really fell in love. He started playing guitar at 8, and we knew when he was like 3 that he had rhythm.
And he's super talented, and we should name drop him.
Yeah,
it's Chance, right?
Chance Pena.
Yeah.
Spotify, all the platforms find him. Anyway, he's super talented, not only because he's my son. His music really does something to people.
I can advocate for it. Yeah, he's got a great voice.
It really, I think all music is healing anyway. And when I listen to my son, it brings such a peace, no matter what he's singing. It's kind of crazy, but at 13, he came to us, here we are, these jocks, and he's playing football at the time and doesn't know how to tell me because he thinks I'm going to be disappointed. And he comes to me and says, Dad, I really want to pursue music. And at that time, he had found a mentor that was helping him start to write, and which is crazy. At 13, he's already writing. He wrote his first song at 11. I rented a studio for his 12th birthday, and he recorded his first song at 12, which is because I saw that in him. I think parents need to find what their kids are good at and nurture that gift.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we've done with Chance. And he came to me and he says, Dad, I want to quit football. And I said, okay. And he says, will you tell my coach? And I think the best thing I ever did with him to show him that he is who he is, and he needs to tell people who he is, not me.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to tell him. I said, I want you to tell him. And it's funny. So at 13, he goes to his junior high coach.
This is football coach too?
Yeah.
And we're talking Texas football coach.
Texas football.
Yeah.
I'm talking, if you quit Texas football, you're going to do nothing in life, is what they think around here.
Exactly.
And so Chance goes to him at 13 and says, I don't want to play football. I want to pursue my music. And the coach looks at him kind of funny and was like, well, you don't want to be a quitter. And Chance says, I'm not quitting. I'm just going to do something I really love to do. And the coach said to him, "You're making a huge mistake." Not knowing 2 years later, Chance would be on The Voice, and the coach had to eat crow and come back and say, "You were right about that decision
Adam
you made."
Levine turns around. Turning around on that.
So
coach
it was kind of funny, but that's what I believe has allowed my wife and I to be decent parents. Is we're not trying to shove our kids into a box or a lane that we think they're supposed to be because of what other people are going to think about us.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I've never really cared what people think about me, which is why I think there's some success comes in my life, because I'm not really worried about what people think. I just go after what I feel I'm supposed to be doing.
That's great. I care way too much about what everyone thinks all the time, but I don't blame that on my folks or anything.
No, I think that's natural.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stay in that place of caring too much about what people think, sometimes you miss those opportunities, man.
Well, I think it's about you have to push, and you have to find the hardships that you kind of can get through that you're going to learn from.
Right.
And it's so funny. I was just having a conversation about this exact thing actually with I did another episode with Daniel Poe here in Tyler, and we had the same conversation about how people naturally want to seek out comfort. We just want comfort.
Yeah.
And that's natural. That's built into us. It makes sense on an evolutionary scale for sure. But then it's the times where you actually put yourself through a hard situation, or you introduce some type of acute stress where you're actually going to change.
Yeah. And then you really realize who you are.
Exactly. Right.
You
So
start to recognize the things that you're good at and not good at.
And I think that comes through, I mean, at least for me, caring too much about what people think. So, hey, we're going to start a podcast, and now I've got to
now I got to do it.
Now let's talk about some insecurities. Let's talk about how much I care. And that's the only way that we move forward. So the kid's a huge part of the life, and you've got a second one heading off to college soon.
So, yes, my 17-year-old Jacob's football player, super bright, entrepreneur mind already. I told you earlier, at 11, he started a skateboard company.
Right.
Came to me, he said, "Dad, I need your credit card." And I was like, "For what?" He said,
for what?
I have this company in Pennsylvania or somewhere like that, manufacturing skateboards for me. I sent him my logo, and I was like, "What?" And it was right after we had sold our first gym. And so I'd given Chance some money to buy some guitars and some equipment for recording and stuff. So I said, okay, gave Chance that. Okay, I can do this for you. So he ordered skateboards. He was all in at 11 years old. He sponsored his first skate contest here in Tyler. And so he's got that entrepreneur spirit. So he wants to go to college to be a business major, get his MBA, which is great because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
No big deal. But I'm hoping he gets to play next level. We'll see. If he's got some interest in Division II and Division III schools looking at him. But he's my wife says he's me. He is just like me. His temperament, his attitude, his drive, definitely. If it's something he wants to do, he'll be there 10 minutes early.
Yeah.
If it's something he doesn't want to do, he won't be there early.
Well, there is something in the genes because, obviously in the genes and in the raising.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, all the kids seem to be real talented and have their area and seem confident, focused. They all take better selfies than me, which I noticed as
My daughter's great at it.
That just drives me crazy. I've got no inclination of how to make that look good.
No, my daughter schools all of us on the selfie game.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You've got a consultant who's in the digital age and can come along and help with. So, are the kids just as involved in the business as well?
We ask for their advice, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a slogan we want to use or a picture even that we want to use, and my wife's been working on our website lately. She's super creative as well. And she would ask advice. Does this picture look great? How's the placement? I mean, and they're just like on it. They have an eye for those things. And because of their age, we want to have all demographics, and visually we want our stuff to be pleasing. And so we use them for that. And business advice, even taking on partners. In this new business, I have a partner who's one of my best friends. And they felt great about it. I felt great about it. So the family was like in agreement, and so we went for it. I've never had a partner other than my wife. So he's a silent partner, even though he's visible in the business, which is really cool. But yeah, we include them in everything. I mean, if my wife and I are having a little tiff, they're just like they're there to talk to us about both sides of the whatever we're arguing about or whatever it is. So we definitely. as a family unit operate as one.
Yeah. So Rise RX, and
Rise
I
RX.
and I just passed it on the way here. We're
Yeah.
actually at the Work Hub building in Texas, which is a very cool spot that
Yeah.
you recommended. And I just passed by the building. It looks phenomenal on the outside. The sign looks great.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you guys do with the inside there. But for someone like me, so my fitness journey was really not a whole lot of anything. I used to run with my dad. He's a
Yeah.
long distance runner. I ran a half marathon when I was really young, but then kind of stopped for quite a while. And I wasn't really into working out.
Right.
Got past college and decided that was something that I wanted and started working out. And I look very different now than the skinny guy from back in the day.
The runner.
Yeah, exactly. Although I just started running again, which is
I love running.
That's fun in
It's
Tyler
hard
State
when you're
Park
big
here.
like us, though.
Yeah, it's not easy. I don't try to do a ton of it. I'm gonna hurt myself if I do.
I'm a short distance runner.
Yeah,
3 miles is my limit. 5Ks.
that sounds. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't need to run a marathon.
Yeah.
I'm cool. But so for someone like me, I ended up teaching myself a whole lot about how to work out, and
Right.
the extent of my knowledge really comes to like what I can do at a Planet Fitness, and
Right.
kind of got to a point, at least for me, where I feel like the best thing is that I skip kind of the isolating exercises, and I'm really all about the full body strength. So it's
Right.
about the lifting heavy on the bar as much as possible. I really rarely touch anything else. But I imagine, even with the knowledge that I've gained there, I would walk into your gym and probably feel like a beginner, because I've seen the stuff you guys
Yeah.
do on your Instagram stories, and it
Yeah.
is intense.
I have done everything from powerlifting to CrossFit to bodybuilding. So Rise RX for us, and Rise, the RX obviously is prescription, and we want to be your prescription for health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's a holistic practitioner. So her area expertise is going to be nutrition, holistic nutrition, and teaching people to eat properly. We're going to have some really cool testing available there. We're going to do food sensitivity testing. We're going to do hormone testing through blood work. That we have some doctors we're partnering with in town.
Yeah, so you guys are going like full service.
We're going
on the
full
holistic,
service because, like I said earlier, I'm going to be 50 this year. As you age, it's not just the food you eat; it's the kinds of foods you eat. My wife was having issues. One of the top 5 reasons we're doing this is I got tired of seeing people in the gym lost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you walk in any gym in America, and there's someone looking around like, what do I do? Like, they go up to the machine, they start reading the description, and so
I actually wish more people would read the description, because it'll tell them how to use it.
Exactly.
And half the time I see people and I'm like, you're going to hurt yourself. You need
Yeah.
to. And I don't try to, and I'm not trying to act like I know
No,
everything, because
but
I
you could see
don't,
it.
but I can see it. Yeah. And
And
it's
so
things I've learned.
I got tired of seeing that. Even as a personal trainer, usually I'll pause, tell my clients, give me a second, and I'll walk over to people, because I want everybody to achieve the results they think they're going to achieve when they're walking in a gym. And so I came home one day, and my wife had been talking about her issues. She'd been pursuing this holistic practitioner license through her nursing degree, which she never used her nursing degree. We opened the gym probably the month after she graduated. And so I sold my first Harley to pay for her nursing school. Yeah. She got me back. She bought me another one later on in our marriage. But
so you're a Harley guy, just so we
Harley
get
guy,
that clear.
man.
Okay.
Harley guy for sure. I just sold my last one though about 6 months ago, but I'll have another.
Oh, good. Okay.
Just because I got so busy. You know how that is. When you can't ride it, it's hard to look at it.
Yeah. I don't have that problem.
Yeah,
I'm lucky right now.
I know you're lucky. So
because now we can just be in the warm places and
ride. And for me, I don't know about you. For me, I know we're getting off subject here, but for me,
fine.
Riding a motorcycle, if you've never done it, you don't know.
Yeah.
It's my escape, man. It's like the time where I don't have to think about anything but the road, the wind, the scenery, and it's probably the only time I could really decompress.
It's totally the Zen place.
Yeah.
And as a kid, my dad had a bike. He got it when I was like a teenager, I guess. But he had always ridden bikes. And I got a scooter for my 16th birthday, and I was hooked from there.
Yeah.
I didn't get the full-fledged motorcycle, which I don't blame my mother for not doing that, because I was not the safest person at 16. But you're completely right. And then reading, of course, I found Zen in the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and got really into Robert Persig, and had to do all the motorcycle-y things. And now it's just like, as many times as I think that's going to be the goal of this podcast too, is that I always ride when I can to go record the episodes, because it's just something about that being in the town as I'm going to to the recording that it's like you're so in the moment with that.
That's it.
You didn't miss anything. I would have missed the gym
agree.
if I was driving by.
Right,
I wouldn't have
in a
seen
car.
the gym.
Yeah,
I would have had the GPS right there. But as it was, I was like, all right, where's the landmarks? I'm going to get lost. You know, you're totally in the moment because you have to be.
I already missed my bike, but I sold it to a 65-year-old guy that was retired. And he was like, I've been wanting another Harley. My kids are grown. I'm buying it. So
yeah,
I'm glad it went to someone that is going to be riding.
Yeah.
I mean, and this dude was so cool. Totally Harley guy, long hair, beard like you and I. And he looked the part and he was ready for his bike, man. And it was cool to sell it to him. But I totally agree. Motorcycles for me is the only place I could really decompress, and I will have another one. But back to why we're doing this is I came home one day and I told my wife, I'm tired of seeing people lost in the gym. And it really hit her. That statement hit her, and she says, what are you talking about? So I explained myself. And she says, do you think we need to do something else? And I said, since we sold, everything we've done in fitness, I've kind of got this model in my head, and I want to do it. And so every time I do a business, there might be years, it might be in a manila folder. As soon as I get the idea, I write it down. Mm-hmm. And so I had all these different ideas, and we sat down, and then she was doing this holistic practitioner license, and she started thinking, we could incorporate that, and we could do all kinds of testing. We're going to do stuff as we move along, even personality testing to fit you with the right trainer, because not every personality fits together.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about this too, because as a personal trainer, so I was at the gym this morning, and there's two guys working out on the machine next to me on the Smith machine, lifting, and I mean these guys are benching 200 pounds, which I can't bench 200 pounds. I'm not even close to 200 pounds. But the way they motivated each other. And I don't work out with other people typically. I'm in the headphones. I'm listening to a podcast or whatever. I don't know that I would respond in the same way. Right. It's like someone yelling at me, like, get the bar up. I was like, no, man.
I don't do that well.
Yeah.
I don't do that. It almost irritates me.
Yeah.
I don't like anybody counting for me. I don't like anybody touching the bar. If I can't do it, don't touch it. You know what I mean? And so I'm probably like you. I want to do my thing. And I do train with folks just because I'm a people person and it's just part of my business. And people just gravitate towards me. And I'm not going to say, no, you can't work out with me. So I train with a few folks, and I'm training with my 19-year-old when he's in town, which is nice. It's our time together. But we're going to do stuff that's going to be so different, I think, because Tyler is saturated with gyms now. When I first started in the gym business here, I worked at a gym when I was 18, and it was us and maybe one of those racket clubs here, and then as I grew and began to really want to open my own place, other gyms started opening up. So we probably had the first fitness only gym in Tyler in '98, and then I started mentoring a bunch of young trainers, and then they ended up all opening gyms. So it's pretty cool to see it. But as an owner, you're going, man, I taught you everything. Now you're going to go and open a gym. Right. As I've aged, I see it as a compliment. Aren't we supposed to teach others and let them go do what they're supposed to do? Right. And even the gym I'm at now, the young man that owns it, I mentored from when he was 17 years old, and he's done really well in the fitness business. And it's really cool. He's allowing me to come and train my clients there, knowing I'm going to open a gym. It's not necessarily going to be his competition, but some people will come. So opening Rise RX, it was just something I couldn't run from anymore. I ran, and I kept on having people come up to me because I do know a lot of people in Tyler, and a lot of people know that it's my passion and fitness. And so I've had people present the opportunity financially to partner with me or what so. And so this last year, about this time, I had a guy interested, and we were weeks away from signing a lease. And he backed out. It's like fear kicked in. He wasn't like real. He wasn't like you and I that let's just jump in and see what happens kind of thing. And he kind of backed out. And so my best friend, the guy who's partnering with me, a couple months later said, "Man, you have this concept. Tell me about it." And I started telling him about it. And he said, "What would it take to do that?" And I gave him some figures, and he said, "Let's do it." And I kind of jumped back like, hey, I didn't say I wanted to do it. I'm just telling you what it would be if I did it. Mm-hmm. And here we are 7 months later, about to open. Yeah. So it's just, I couldn't run anymore. Yeah. And it's like some people say the stars align. Some people say this, and I believe, being a believer in Christ, that the Lord put the right people in my life to allow me to do this. And by no means do I judge anybody for not believing. I just want people to be who they've been called to be, regardless of what they believe in. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I am very open-minded. I spent some time in the ministry in the past and saw the ugliness of that. And so I just love people where they are, man. And that's what this gym is going to be for me also, is an opportunity to love people where they are, especially living in the Bible Belt. As you know, we're in the Bible Belt.
I've heard, yeah. No,
yeah, you've seen it.
There's the church on every corner.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's just not my kind of way of sharing what I believe.
Sure.
I'm going to love on you no matter what you believe, man. And I believe if you do that, people will see something different. And that something different will attract them to what you believe, versus you shoving it down their throat. And so for me, the business, along with helping people physically, I want to help them spiritually, whatever that looks like to them.
Yeah. That's
my goal.
So the business runs deep. Obviously, health, wellness, physicality, that runs deep with you. And I there's something I'm curious about. Coming into the podcast, I was thinking about what kind of things could we talk about. And one thing that I wondered is, for me, health is at the forefront, and that's the way we live. That's the way Andrea and I live. That always seems to come first. And sometimes it gets absolutely exhausting that there's this like meta level of focusing on the health, on eating the right foods, on the workout, all that stuff. It takes up a lot of time, a lot of energy. Yeah. And I have to imagine for someone like you, who's been in the competition game, training, owning gyms, that it's even harder.
It is harder, and my wife sometimes tells me I'm anorexic. I eat a lot. She just says that. If we go out somewhere and I eat, I just like eating healthy. I like feeling good.
Sure.
And so, but it is always on my mind.
Yeah, it's almost like you wake up to it, and then you can't go back to sleep on it because
you
know it, and you can't just go eat that unhealthy food because you're like, I can't stop thinking about the fact that I know what that's doing to my body right now.
And I think it has to do with the mindset. You have to. That's another thing we're going to do, is we're going to teach on mindset. I mean, that's very important. Is really, do you really want to do this or not? And if you say yes, then I'm going to teach you that, and we're going to ingrain it into your thinking and your way of life. And for me, fitness, health, it's a lifestyle, and it can be easy if you think about it that way. If you think about it, well, man, I'm eating a burger. Oh gosh.
Well, I think burgers are.
I do too.
Sometimes really good for you.
I do too, right, and I probably have at least one a week, if not two.
Oh yeah.
So allowing myself those things and not going crazy about it has allowed me to stay in the shape that I'm in, because I don't like obsess about it. Mm-hmm. And most people think, well, you are obsessive. Well, to me, I'm really not, because I allow myself the things that I like to do. And so, it's when I wake up, it's when I go to sleep. Like we talked about entrepreneurship and parenting, it's who I am.
Yeah. And
if you start to think that way, it makes it easier, I think. And that's why I'm talking about mindset, making you believe that this is a normal thing.
Yeah. Well, I get that. I also think that, for me, when I learn something, when I find something out, it's really hard to ignore that moving forward. It's hard to undo something that I've learned. But I don't know if that's the case for everyone. And I wish it was. We work in the health and wellness field and have learned a whole lot there in recognizing what is and is not healthy. And I have a hard time when I do learn something that I can't just let it go. And I don't think everybody feels that same way. Sometimes I think people are have an easier time than I do sort of shutting it out, even if they know what's bad, and they can still go eat the ice cream. And I just can't do it after that point. But it drives me a little crazy at a certain point. So I don't know.
I think the benefits that you've had and that I've had is the education. Mm-hmm. Most people don't get educated enough. I mean, you were talking about listening to podcasts. I'm sure they have to do with health and wellness too, and other things.
Yeah.
And so my wife and I are the same way, but most people don't think that way. They think they can go to a gym, eat the way they've been eating, and look totally different. It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. You have to learn to begin to take things out of your life that are affecting the way you feel, period. And what I want to teach people is, it's not about vanity. That comes. If you're doing the right things with your eating, with your supplementation, with your cardiovascular work, whatever, the vanity aspect, the looks will come. But most people come in focused on what they're going to look like. And I think if you do that, it makes what we've been talking about harder. It makes that not eating the ice cream harder.
So would you say it's more about thinking about what you are going to feel like?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think if people came into a gym or come to a trainer or whatever with the mindset of, can they help me feel better?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And those are the kinds of buzzwords we want to use. Is we want to help you feel better.
Yeah.
We want to help you live better. We want to help you live longer. We want to help you live longer better. And at 50, I'm in better shape now in all areas of fitness than I was when I was 23-year-old bodybuilder went in bodybuilding things. I looked great, but I wasn't healthy. I was doing things in my body I shouldn't have been doing. I wasn't taking care of my heart like I should have been. And so at 50, I could run circles around the 23-year-old me.
Yeah. Well, I'm right there with you, and obviously that key is that education, and I like that the approach you guys are talking about is it's going to be personal. It's going to be even matching you with someone who can meet you where you're at,
right.
and get that message across to
right.
you, because all of the issues that plague us in this day and age, I think, all come out of not taking care of your body well enough,
right.
And not making that the priority.
Right.
We're working too much. We're not sleeping enough. We're eating the wrong things, and then we're like, we have no energy.
Right.
We don't feel good.
And we live in a society where prescription to a pill is the answer to everything.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's why the RX, the prescription for us, is health. If we prescribe you health, you're going to get healthy, and it's not going to take a pill. I mean, we can help people with anxiety just through eating. And my wife's big on that. I mean, kids with ADHD, I believe it's just a label they've been given. I think it all can be fixed through nutrition. And there is some studies out there that say that. We just have to educate people on it.
Yeah. And you really take that up as a mantle, and that's where the drive to have this gym and everything comes from.
I think one of the things that's unique about what we're doing at Rise RX is we have a literal lecture classroom there. With a 75-inch screen for PowerPoints, and we're going to do weekly, if not bi-monthly, seminars on different topics, from health and wellness to bringing doctors in to talk about, I got a buddy of mine who's a urologist. He's going to come and talk about prostate cancer and things to do to avoid it and whatever, and just educate people on it. We're going to bring chiropractors in. They're going to talk about why we sometimes have lower back pain, and it's really not your lower back, it's something else in your muscles. So there's just, the education to me is going to be the most important part. The weights that we're going to have in there is just like every other gym. Every gym has weights, but it's on the inside and what our hearts are, and that is to educate people. And so I think that's going to make us unique and separate us from the other gyms, the hundreds of gyms in town.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about the gym, the business, the fitness, all of those things, which are kind of those are the obvious ones that
right.
I know about you from Instagram or being online. That's usually the best research I
right.
can do coming in. But I'm also curious about what is of interest to you outside of those things. I mean, we've talked about motorcycles, which is very good. Obviously,
definitely.
You're in the beard.
The beard game. This is one of
beard
my
gang.
So this shirt that I'm wearing, I looked for one. I couldn't find a box. I was going to bring you one. This is a company that my buddy and I are starting. He's an artist friend of mine, and I came to him one day and I said, man, I want to get into this beard thing, and I started making beard balms and oils and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and just
I make
myself.
all my own stuff.
Yeah, for myself, because it's pretty easy.
Yeah,
because I know the scents I like and I know what my body reacts to.
What drives me crazy too is like you look at the oils in the store and you're like, why is that in there? That's crazy.
Yeah,
mine is just like coconut oil, argan oil, and some essential oils. That's it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything else.
I like patchouli and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like my wife, she'll tell me which ones to use because she likes the scent. So.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm interested in. Again, it's being an entrepreneur. I want to spread the message of taking care of your beards, man. So,
yeah, and it's Dia de las Barbas.
Day of the Beard in
Day
Spanish.
of the Beard.
Yeah. And so we have an Instagram also. It's dormant right now because this other business took precedent over it.
I can imagine.
And
yeah.
so my partner in this is like, okay, he's ready to go, but he's no big deal. We'll do it when it's time.
Yeah.
But it had great momentum when we first started going.
Yeah.
And he has all this artwork ready for the next probably 5 months of releases, different artwork for each one. But interested in that. I'm really interested in people, and helping people. And I say this a lot, helping people become who they're supposed to be. there's a lot of people walking around on a daily basis. They're just wandering, and my wife and I really feel like we have a gift that we see something in somebody, and even an encouraging word to them could open up to, oh my gosh, they care. And if I see something in somebody, example, a musician, might be just playing a local pub or something, and it looks like they're just there to make a living. And if I go up to them and say, hey man, I really think you need to pursue this, where they might have never heard that, and they're just doing it to make a living. They don't realize that they really are talented. So my heart is to really encourage people. I mean, that's something I'm super, super passionate about, is to see people become who they're supposed to be.
So you speak very confidently about things like that, which that's interesting to me, because I have a lot of confidence in the things that I do, but I still walk around with doubts. I still have those moments where it's like, am I doing the right path? I mean, especially because Andrew and I recently took on an entire new lifestyle, traveling full time, which I'm
jealous of.
It's been great so far, but it has its challenging days. But I think my favorite part is like when we show up to a new town and we've been driving so we came down here from around Lincoln, Nebraska, and that was, I want to say, like an 11-ish hour drive to come down, and that's kind of about the length of drive we've been doing lately. For whatever reason, we've just been bouncing pretty far across the country.
You could drive from here to South Texas, and it's about 11 hours.
I believe that. That's what I've been saying, is this place is its own entire country. It is crazy. Wild. But crazy. My favorite part is you roll up, you set up, and we've got to the place where setting up the rig takes maybe half an hour on the outside at the very least, and then go inside and get, move the things that fell down and, fix all the stuff. But then you sit down and you make dinner in your kitchen, and you sit down on your couch and you watch your TV, and it's just very much like, oh, I'm back in my space. And sometimes I'll be in bed or we'll be watching a show or something, and I forget what's outside. I genuinely am like, oh, we're in this state now, and my head still pictured me back in the South Dakota, That's a pretty wild experience of it, but it does give me the chance to go around, and that's a huge piece of this podcast, to meet people as well.
Looking at what you're doing, I definitely believe you're called to do it, man, because just even having this conversation with you encourages me to continue to do what I'm doing. So it's not random that you found me or whatever, because maybe I needed the encouragement to remind myself that, man, this is what you're good at, the things that we're talking about, the passion I have for people. This has reminded me of those things. So it's really neat that you have that gift to pick the people, not randomly. Yeah, I don't believe.
Well, it's not random, because I do.
No, but you know what I'm saying? And even the research that you do, there's an intuition that you have, I believe, to pick the right people. And not that I'm like the right person.
I hope so.
I needed it. I needed it more than you believe, or might know, to sit here and just talk about the things that I'm passionate about, because it's reminding me of why I do what I do.
I think that's conversations that people truly don't have enough. Yeah. Is because you know who you are from conversations, just as much as somebody else could learn about you. You start to realize, oh no, that's who I am, and that's what I'm about. But at the same time, the thing that I find really compelling is that I can sit down with a stranger, and I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it always seems to come back to some really simple things. And really, I think that a lot of the things that I worry about or stress about with this lifestyle, I don't think I would have been able to do this podcast a few years ago. Wow. Because I think it would have been really hard to sit there and be like, oh, I just want that life. I want whatever that person's doing, because I would have felt completely insecure in mine. But now I guess you're right. You get to the point where it's like, no, I actually do feel really good about what it is I'm doing. It's harder for me to be jealous.
I think you're doing a great thing. As we're talking, I'm thinking you're going to be able to write a book, about all these experiences you're having, the nuggets that you've taken from each conversation you've had in your podcast, because I think there's a bunch. I might say one thing that sticks with you. Daniel Poe might have said something. People before that might have said something. And all those things accumulative into a book could encourage that person out there that we don't even know. And I don't even know if you're interested in writing. No, but I totally see a book coming out of this.
I think a lot could come out of this. Yeah. I hope so, at least. But the really cool thing for me too is that I don't have, being on the road, and being into all these different places. I really like the anonymity of being in a new city where it's like, I don't know anybody. I can be totally embarrassing over there because I may not even come back to this town
Right.
again, you know. But that also left me in a place where I wasn't actually meeting anyone. And we work from the road, we work on our own business, and our team is all totally remote. And it's like, I don't really meet a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to tell those stories from different places. And I think we all get in such a small mindset of who is interesting wherever, you know, we
Right.
happen to be.
Right.
And being able to travel around and profile people in all these different places, I think is something I was really always interested
It's really
in.
awesome. I mean, I love it. I mean, if I was your age, I'd probably be doing something similar.
Yeah. Well, I just love podcasting.
Yeah.
So
My wife and I are actually thinking about starting one, and it's just being transparent, man. You know, because I think there's a lot of young couples that work together. I mean, that's definitely a topic that we would talk about, and the struggles that are within that, and then the mountaintops that are within that. You know, because there's both mountaintops and valleys when you're partnering with your wife, and even this week we've had those moments where, can we really work together again? You know,
and are you guys the type? So I think that it's really helpful about Andrea and I that we can be together 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good.
Yeah.
You guys don't have any issue with that. You don't need.
No, my wife, just because it's, you know, 5 of us at my house, sometimes she needs to go hang out by herself.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a huge learner. And so she might go to Barnes & Noble or Starbucks and sit there and read a book or listen to a podcast and just kind of decompress. And I've learned that about her over the last probably 5 years. And so when I start to sense she's getting a little irritable, I'm like, you need to go hang out.
Yeah, go have a date with yourself.
Yeah, go have a date with yourself. And she comes back and she's a totally different person. She
Yeah.
just needs that recharge. She's an introvert that's learned to be an extrovert. So those kind of people really need that time. I'm an extrovert, man. I could be around people all day long.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll have more energy after this podcast than the rest of the
Yeah.
week because I got to go and be an extrovert
Yeah.
and meet someone. So, but I think that's such a helpful thing where we've learned, and we've also learned how to compartmentalize, which I think in general is easier for guys than it is for girls.
Oh, definitely.
I know I shouldn't be saying it. I'll
Right,
get in trouble
but
for
it's
it.
true.
But it's just a little easier. But as a couple, you also have to learn how to compartmentalize. And so, you know, we've learned how to put the work aside and be like, you know, we're not working right now, and let's not talk about that client that's pissing you off.
And knowing that I had a mentor of mine say, you got to have a firewall between work and business, especially since you and Michelle are in business together. When you get home, there's a firewall. Don't talk business. If you do, make it short. You know, and obviously, you know that it's hard to not do that.
Yeah.
Especially traveling, and your home is basically your office as well.
Oh, yeah, it's small. Well,
but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you have to have that time. So there's sometimes she's wanting to talk about business with me, and I'm like, I'm done. My day's over. We could do this tomorrow. And she's learned to understand that he's probably right. We need to go ahead and shut it off. The kids are here. We don't want to ignore them and that.
But you guys, do you guys work out together too?
It's funny.
Because that's another whole avenue where when you're working out, is that work or is it
right
personal or what is it?
We used to work out together all the time when we were dating, and then when we got married a little bit, and it kind of, because we had a gym, she was teaching aerobics and all those kinds of things, and so we didn't have the opportunity to do it. And then she would try to work out with me and some of my clients, and then she'd like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so I said, okay, don't work out with me. It's funny you mentioned that. 2 weeks ago, she committed to 4 weeks with me as her trainer. So
Oh, man.
we've made it 2.5 weeks to 2 weeks now.
And does she still compete too? Did
No,
I see that right?
you know, she doesn't compete. I have clients that compete. Michelle is a entrepreneur that didn't know she was an entrepreneur until we got together. Her mind is, I mean, she's brilliant. She's got a business mind. Right now, she's a CFO for a spine surgeon. She has her own holistic coaching stuff. She's doing our gym business, and she handles my personal training business at the same time. So she's like got all these hats that she wears.
And she's always in that management role.
Oh yeah,
Just
always
running the business, keeping
Yeah.
the show going.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's and she. It's funny. She says, "You get all the glory, and here I am in the back, you know, doing my thing." And I'm like, this time around, you're going to be the forefront of this business. I'm just the guy that's walking around doing the thing. And she doesn't want that, but I want her to have that because people need to know that without her wouldn't be, you know, Rise RX wouldn't be without her. And I want people to know that because she's brilliant and definitely was a godsend to me.
Yeah.
You know, when I met her, I was pretty dang wild.
Yeah. That's where the motorcycles come in?
Yeah. I was riding Harleys, and it's funny, one of the first places I took her to was Daytona Bike Week. If you've never been, it's
first date material.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. Some buddies of mine and I went down there, and then I flew her down there, and so that was one of our first real hangout times, which is not probably a place to have a date, Daytona Bike Week.
When we took off in the RV for the first time, which really we left right after our wedding, so it was almost the honeymoon was us taking off, and we've been prepping for it. So we were putting together a wedding and also a move at the same time. If anybody is trying to do that, I highly don't recommend it. It was really intense because we left 4 days after the wedding, and we were on the road.
Wow.
And so. Where was I going with that? Oh, but what we went to was up in the Black Hills in South Dakota, and it happened to be the tail end of Sturgis. And I was totally overwhelmed and real intimidated about the fact that it was Sturgis, because I ride, but I don't know a lot of bikes, and I don't ride a Harley, and so I'm not in that club. But it turned out to be so cool. Just
those guys
so
are
many.
They're accepting, man. If you ride a bike, they're all about it.
Yeah, it's really the mindset of a biker is quite often. It's someone who's awakened to something that I can get. At some point, I'll have an episode with someone who's like a hardcore biker.
Yeah.
We'll really get into it because I think that it's interesting. I think it's like what you and I were talking about.
They see
like,
life differently.
Hits, yeah,
they really do. I mean, I know a few guys that are hardcore bikers, motorcycle gang guys, and they're interesting folks. They're not as scary as people think either.
Mm-hmm.
They're good guys. That's just their lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean,
And have you done the long motorcycle trips?
No,
multi-day?
I mean, I think the longest bike trip I've done is like 5 hours. But I want to do one of my bucket list things was to ride from Texas to Colorado, take like a 2-week deal. And my wife's cousin does it every year, and he's invited me every time I had a bike, and I've never gone. So that's a goal. And I think my boys and I will do that one day.
Do they ride too, or have an interest in riding?
They have an interest. Mama doesn't want them to ride, so
Mama didn't want me to ride either.
I know. So she said, I don't know about that bucket list. So we'll see.
Well, there will be a point where they'll be out of the nest, and they'll probably find the bike.
Yeah, my oldest wants a bike, but he's moving to LA, so I don't think Mama's going to definitely.
I don't think that's a great place to ride. Probably.
No, I would not ride in LA.
Yeah. Well, and you can split lanes there too, right?
Yes,
which
it's crazy.
Scares me. I would never split a lane.
Last time I was out there, a motorcycle just came by us in between. There's 2-car lane, and they took the middle lane. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I should have clarified for anybody who doesn't know. Splitting lanes, that means you're riding through the generally stopped traffic, and these guys will do it at 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, what if someone opens their
door to spit someone,
or throws an arm out there,
or just changes lanes like cars do?
It's just crazy.
It's scary enough to just ride in an actual lane that I can't imagine going.
I don't even like driving a car in LA.
I don't like driving a car anywhere, but I still feel I still hold out that I feel safer on the motorcycle than I do in the car sometimes.
I'm more aware when I'm on a bike.
You can see a lot more. Yeah. I'm a lot quicker to respond. I can brake a hell of a lot faster. Yeah. But I'm also like Mr. Gear, so I've always got all the stuff on, and Andrew's always got the stuff on, so I don't mess around with that. I'm not trying to die on a motorcycle. No. Actually, although that's not the main issue, I think with motorcycles is like the main issue would be like you skid and you lose all your skin from your legs and stuff.
One of the first motorcycle rides I went on was probably a 40-50 bike ride, bunch of guys, and there was an accident in front of me. Dog came out. That's the thing about the country roads, you gotta watch them dogs. And dog came out, a buddy of mine hit it. The girl on the back of his bike lost the skin from her feet. Unfortunately, she was wearing flip-flops, which you don't do that.
Don't wear flip-flops.
Don't wear and shorts. You don't do that either.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I almost took my bike back to the Harley shop that day.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm done.
One of my favorite pieces of advice was from the founder of Hell's Angels, Sonny Barger, I think is how you say his last name. And he said, don't make friends with people who don't ride with gear, because you'll just spend a lot of time in the hospital with them while they're getting skin grafts. And that's just not worth your time.
Yeah.
And I think about that every time.
It's true, man. Those guys know, too. They've seen it.
Yeah. So now we've gone way off.
It's all right.
Off subject, but so we've got motorcycles, we've got beards, all these things, and I think that's really cool. Is I start to look for people who I have things in common with. But when the podcast is going to get really interesting is when I can find someone who I think I can still have a great conversation with, but also have nothing in common with, because there have been common themes in the episodes I've recorded, And I know at some point someone's going to be like, oh, you only interview people who are a lot like you, who have the same interests and things like that. And they're going to be right. But I also have to like turn off my filters and go find someone who's like my complete
Totally opposite.
And I don't always know how to have a conversation with someone who's my complete opposite. But that's the point.
But this is what I think. I think you're good enough with people that you'll be fine.
Yeah, even carrying the weight of the show.
Yeah, just sitting here. Most people couldn't do this. Sit here with a stranger. And for me, we've been here, I don't know, 30-something minutes or whatever, and it feels like I've known you my whole life.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So that's cool.
That's how I get you to go into the layers, all this stuff. Okay, so let's round you out as a person, though. I wonder why. We've talked a little bit about it. We've talked about your drive for people, but I think that there are so many ways that you could have done that, come through on helping people in the ways that you're interested in, and even through fitness. So what is it about owning a gym? What is it about personal training? What is it about the things that you actually do that you feel like is that direct line to the thing that you're passionate about?
Just like we're sitting here talking, when you're in business, people always want to talk to the owner or whoever's in charge. And I think having a business, or even as a personal trainer, which is a business, gives you a platform that most people don't have the opportunity to talk to people one-on-one like that. So it's almost like I'm doing a podcast daily with my clients or with members of the gym. And it's like, as a gym owner, I was always that guy that went up to everybody. And I pretty much knew everyone during the times that I was up there. And it was because I would spark conversation. I think the conversation aspect of it, and that's another reason we're doing this again. I miss the people. I miss the new people, because I'm with the same clients pretty much every day, but as a gym owner, there's going to be new people coming in.
Right.
And I miss that. I miss the opportunity to get to know other people, other people's way of living, their belief systems. And I think as an owner, as an entrepreneur, you get to have those opportunities.
So for you, it's about being I guess where the buck stops, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that same exact thing.
Yeah.
But what always scares me too, and as a fellow business owner, I'm sure you're going to get this. You're going to need a lot of staff to make your gym work, and you don't want to live there. You're going to need other people there to help you bring that full circle. How do you get team members on board with the things that you believe in, the vision that you have, and make sure that everybody gets it?
So it's funny. We've hired our entire staff for this new gym already. The first day that we put out that we were hiring, I had all the trainers that I hired apply, which when I started interviewing them, the common theme was, we heard you two were opening a gym and we wanted to be a part of it, which was a compliment. But then I would ask them why. And they said that we know the way you are with people. We know that you've been successful in the past. We know that you help people become who they're supposed to be. And it blessed me that people knew that about me without me telling them like I'm telling you. And so, I don't know. I think because of that, they're already open to the vision that I've already shared with them.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a lot of onboarding, staff training in the next couple of weeks. And then me living the lifestyle and actually doing what I say I'm going to do. My wife's really big about do what you say you're going to do. Be a man of your word. And my father-in-law, he passed away last year, but he was like that. He was like, if you say you're going to do that, you're going to do that. Yes, sir. One of those deals. But I think living it, I think people will buy into whatever vision you have if they see you living it.
How do you, then on the flip side, the sad times, the hard times as a business owner, how do you handle it when you find out this trainer is preaching the wrong message or they're doing something that I don't think is safe or good or treating someone poorly?
And so my plan is from the onset of this, during the onboarding process, during the orientation process of our employees, is to let them know, look, coming on board with us, you're giving us a green light to bring correction, whether it hurts. And I think with my wife next to me, we have the right way of doing it, and bringing correction, because that is one thing I will not tolerate is incorrect form, preaching a different message than we have laid out for them to preach. I definitely want everybody on the same page, and those are already things I've told them and they've agreed upon. But I think if it goes south, that we would be able to remind them gently what we really want them to be doing there.
So I have an exercise for you. I have a challenge for you,
Oh, gosh.
which is I want to know from your perspective. This is gonna be the worst question I ask, because the answer you're gonna have is, well, everybody's different. But I want to know, someone who's getting into lifting like myself.
Right.
What do I need to be focusing on when I get into the gym? Because there's 100 articles, not 100. There's hundreds of thousands. There's millions of articles about you need to do this lift. You need to lift heavy, lift light. You need to be on dumbbells. You need to be on barbells. You need to be on machines. And everyone obviously will be different. But is there a core thing that comes through? And my challenge was sort of like, devise what you think I should do.
Okay, so
when I go into the gym, and I'll switch it up.
2 questions, and I can almost figure out. So another thing we're going to be doing is exercise prescription according to body type.
Love it.
And
The real RX.
No one's doing that.
Yep.
Okay, so were you the kid that was naturally skinny, could eat whatever they wanted, had a hard time gaining weight?
Yes.
So you were that. So
hard gainer. So total endomorph.
So a hard gainer, yes. So you would definitely have to have low reps, stick to the basic lifts in the onset, and do them properly. You're like my son Chance is like, he could eat whatever he wants to, and it's hard for him to gain weight. And so I have him really focusing on the movements. I have them focusing on bench press, squats, deadlifts if you are taught them properly, military press, and then all the auxiliary stuff, the cable flies and the tricep pushdowns, all that stuff towards the end of your workout, because they're needed as well.
Start heavy, start low.
Yeah.
Start with the Olympic lifts, big stuff.
In good form.
In good form.
In good form. That's what I would say. And then for, the person that puts on weight easily, which is, I guess, endomorph, right? Ectomorph is...
Yeah, I think I said it wrong, because I think I'm ectomorph.
You're ectomorph. So Chance is ectomorph. Endomorph is more like me, who's in the middle. Mesomorph is that guy that looks at a pizza and gains 100 pounds.
Sure.
So those guys are going to have to be doing more HIIT style training, eating less carbohydrates, starchy carbs. They could still eat, the vegetables, the fibrous carbohydrates and stuff like that. And the the guy in the middle is going to have to do both, a little balance. And that's what I do. I do HIIT training for my cardio, and I do weightlifting, conventional weightlifting, and some circuit training for my weightlifting right
That's
now.
really good to hear, because that's mostly what I've read, and that's mostly what I stick to.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we've read about all this, but there's not a gym in the country until I put this out there that's going to be doing it.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out what you are. Another cool thing we're doing is when you walk in our gym, and now I'm giving you trade secrets. We haven't released this yet.
They have to listen to the whole episode if they want the trade secret here.
You're going to walk in, there's going to be 2 75-inch screens on these columns in the weight room. Depending on how we did your orientation, whether you're ecto, endo, or meso, there'll be workouts for those people every day.
Yeah.
Every day I'm going to program workouts for those people, and they'll go up there and they'll look, okay, this is what I need to do today.
Nice. And
so that's where that no lost client is.
Yeah.
That my mind was, how am I going to get everyone to do something correctly or work out the right way? Well, once we find out what you are, we're going to place you in that category. And then when you walk in on a daily basis, whether you're training with a trainer or not, you're going to have something to do. There's no one in the country doing that. And that's why we want to eventually, once we get all this intellectual property secure, we want to franchise Rise RX. So
I love it.
That's the goal. And I want to franchise from within. I want to give employees that come work for us and give us their hearts an opportunity, and us finance them a new facility somewhere.
Nice.
So that's the long-term goal. I don't know how we're going to get there, but that's the goal, is to take these young trainers and whoever wants to pick a city. Let's go do the demographic. Let's see if it's a feasible place for us to do a facility like this, and we're gonna invest in you.
Yeah. So if you're interested in getting involved with Rise RX, and you're gonna maybe build a career, a real career out of this.
And that's one thing that I think a lot of these guys understand. I haven't pitched that to them, but I said there's gonna be some real opportunities for you to come here, because the guys that we hired right now are gonna help us build this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, even the programming that we're gonna be doing is gonna be so different. We have some really cool. Have you ever seen mace training?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm hooked on it because I'm a big fan of Aubrey Marcus and On It and all that stuff.
Oh, I got a guy that's going on it to get certified to do mace training.
That's great.
One of my guys already does the primal movement. So we're going to have all that cool stuff.
I'm so jealous because I have to limit the gear that I actually own because every piece of equipment that I own has to add on to the weight of what I'm hauling from state to state. So the best I can do is...
Mace.
Would 5 pounds do it?
My trainer that's going to be doing it, I asked him, I said, so I need to know what I need to buy. So tell me. I was thinking 20-pound maces.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, or 40-pound or whatever.
He said, dude, 5 to 8 pounds.
Yeah.
15 maybe. And he's trained with all of them. He's like, a 5 pound, once you start swinging it, I mean, it feels a lot heavier.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
I'm so hooked on all this stuff that's like, I don't forget the right word for it, but just sort of like outside the box, the really irregular stuff, but it's all totally functional. Yeah. And you just kind of like, I've seen the movements with the mace where it's like there's like a grave digger where you're kind of just like swinging it like it's a spade, and then you pull it over your head, and kind of there's so many different things. I'm always so interested by that. But being on the road, obviously, and I'm not trying to pitch Planet Fitness here because I'm only so happy with that.
Right.
But that's about the best option I have going from town to town.
Right.
Someday, what I really need is for a big gym franchise to partner with smaller gyms and allow travelers who are in town to use those local gyms for whatever amount of fee to kick back. I think that would be the best way to do it because
I think On It Academy is totally...
That's the future.
They're onto something.
Yeah.
So Rise RX is going to be a mix of that.
I love it.
So I have a 1,800 square foot functional room with turf.
Sleds.
Pull-up rigs, sleds. Ropes,
battle ropes,
slam balls, kettlebells, dumbbells for unilateral lifting.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a lot of that in there. So that's another thing that's going to separate us that is only on this podcast right now. We're not advertising it yet because everybody will try to do it.
Yeah.
And if they try to do it and do it incorrectly, it's going to make us look bad. So that's one reason we hadn't released all the stuff we're doing. But I have someone going to On It Academy this weekend, one of our girl trainers. She's going to go learn their foundations. And then this other guy that's coming to work for us, he's going in, I think, December for that mace. And then I want to send them back to do the primal movement. And they already do that stuff, so that's going to be pretty cool.
Well, and you guys are close here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've got a minute before this episode comes out anyways, so don't worry about the info going out to people.
But we definitely want to have you come back, man.
I know, as if I needed another reason to come back to Tyler, Texas. I'm in love with this town. I've had such a good time here. But unfortunately, we got to move on and get to our next shootout in Dallas. But then I think we're going to be
maybe I'll get
likely
you a
in the
client
Austin
to
area.
Come back and do some work for you.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic, of course. So if you're in the area, Rise RX is going to be the place to go. I can imagine what this place is going to be like. I can already say I recommend it just because of the things we talked about on this episode. You guys are on the right track for some very cool stuff. And go look up, if you're a trainer, obviously, Cune Pena, because this guy, he's going to build your career in a franchise. No, I can't promise people everything. Yeah, but go check them out. Do you want to give people your social media so they can go?
Yeah, it's just Cune
you?
Pena Fitness on Instagram, Cune Pena Fitness on Facebook.
And what's Rise?
Rise is Rise RX Fitness on Instagram, Facebook. We're not tweeting yet. And then what else? I guess that's it.
And then you guys are going to put together a couples working podcast.
Yeah, my wife and I are we're thinking about it, and I see your gear here, and I'm going to take a picture. So
you should. I can get you links for all the stuff that I use.
Because we were thinking like it's going to have to be this intricate thing, and we have a space for it in the new facility, so we're definitely going to do it.
I'll be your first guest. I'll bring Andrea.
That'll be an excuse to come.
Couples working. Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks, Cune, for being on the show, and thanks to everybody for listening. This has been Strangers Worth Meeting, and we will see you on the next episode.